Live here. So, welcome back to our weekly real estate podcast. We've done quite a few this week. We have a lot of new people asking to be on our podcast, which is great. And as always, we're trying to bring people in to help people out with real estate and all the different aspects of it. So, today we have another new face on the show. We're lucky to have in Josh Nelson with PuroClean. How's it going, Josh?
Excellent, Ken.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
So we're at his home office, which is great. And we're going to kind of discuss the aspects of mold. He does mold remediation, some other things that we'll talk about. But one of the biggest things that we come across when we're dealing with home inspections is there's mold spores. Or if I have a client who has a rental, someone claims they have mold there. And the question is, is it dangerous? What's the deal? So that's when we called Josh. We're fortunate enough that our former clients, the Moody's, introduced us, so that was a great introduction. So with that being said, if you like our videos, please subscribe, like our videos, share them with your friends, and get our information out there. We're trying real hard to provide real great information about everything that has to do with real estate in Northern Nevada. So
Absolutely.
Let's get going. So Josh, tell us a little bit about your company. Talk about your level of experience, and I know that you do more than mold remediation, so give us like the 30-second commercial because you're in B&I today.
Sure.
And tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it. So we are PuroClean of South Reno. PuroClean is a franchise company based out of Florida. There's 350 some odd franchises around the country. It's great with a franchise because you got the support of a bigger organization with the service level of a small local company, which works out really great. Our team here, myself, I've started from other businesses in the ski industry and other things, and immediately hired a guy that has 30 years of experience in the industry. He's a certified mold investigator. He's an asbestos consultant. He's got a ton of experience, and I can lean on him for that day-to-day operational stuff. And then we've got a small team, just two guys that are out doing the actual work. We spend a lot of time dealing with mold. That's probably, I would say at this point, 75% of our business.
Okay, so what's the other 25% then?
The other 25% is really made up of water damage, water losses from the insurance industry. So if somebody has a pipe break, we come in, clean it up, dry it out. We also do biohazard and trauma cleanup. We do fire damage cleanup. Any of those property damage type cleanup jobs that come out there, we deal with the stuff people don't necessarily.
Yeah, and he's our go-to guy for cleanups. So when we see, when we do home inspections, something comes up, we have him up, check it out. So now we're gonna do a little rapid fire, and we're gonna kind of educate people. So I have like a list of 6 or 7 questions that I did a little research on that people want to know about. So how common is mold in buildings, like in people's houses, and where is it at?
Mold is everywhere.
And you wouldn't think in Northern Nevada because it's so dry. That's the misnomer.
The problem.
That's a misnomer, right? So people looking. So how common is it, and where should people be looking to be aware of it?
So mold truly is everywhere. It's in our guts. It's on our hands. It's on our tables. It's everywhere. Mold is all around us. Most mold really isn't dangerous. I mean, in your digestive tract, mold is there to help you process food and everything else. So it's a very common substance. There are a handful of molds that are out there that are very dangerous. The very common black mold, as it's known, really that's sort of a misnomer. Any mold eventually would turn black if you give it enough time. The black mold that people know of and are aware of is called Stachybotrys and has some real serious health concerns and things that go with it. There's also Penicillium aspergillus, which techno-scientific terms. Yeah, exactly. But what that is it's a really light mold, so it gets aerosolized very easily. So then you can ingest it through breathing, and it causes actually real similar symptoms to allergies in a lot of people.
Okay.
So to your point, or to your question, if you're in your house or in a house and you suddenly got allergy symptoms and it's not allergy season, that might be a good indicator that there's some mold there. We typically will find it. You could go in almost any house and find it on the north wall in the attic or in the crawl space. Because Nevada's a dry climate, we do have a lot of water around in the ground. And so people just sort of assume that it's going to dry out and they don't really have to worry about it. If they have a small leak, it'll dry out and we won't have to worry. Well, mold will start growing within a couple of days. 2 to 3 days is all it really needs. It's an opportunistic spore, so it will start growing in any place that it sees a little bit of moisture and a food source.
Great. So
Yeah, that's
bathrooms,
Bathrooms
north walls,
for sure.
and crawl spaces, right? Are those
Crawl
the three?
spaces, attics, any of those places that are warm and dark, you know, where things tend to grow, there's a real good chance.
So
of seeing
people
mold.
should be looking around there.
Yeah, I
once
mean,
a
you
year,
don't have
maybe
to
jump under their house and look.
It's a great practice to get into once a year, to crawl down in your crawl space, just check it out, see what's going on. If you see any moisture or anything like that, you can call us, you can call a home inspector, you can call,
Yeah, get it addressed.
get
Don't
it
let it sit there.
fixed. Yeah, the longer it sits, the worse it gets, for sure.
All right, so whites in buildings, that's common. And then how do they get indoor environments and how do they grow? That's the next
So they get into our environments just through the air. They're, like I said, they're all over the place all the time. So you don't really have to wonder if they're there. They are. The way they start to grow is if, as I said, the opportunistic spore there, it sees a warm, wet spot with a little bit of food source. Drywall, the paper on drywall is a fantastic food source.
Okay.
So as soon as you get some moisture on there, and it'll start to grow and take off. And then it just expands once it's...
Yeah, in bathrooms, I'm guessing if you see some stuff.
Shower stalls.
Shower, because it's
Absolutely.
hot steam.
Yeah, and there is a difference between mildew and mold, not really from a scientific standpoint, but just from a health hazard standpoint. You know, people see, and I can guarantee it's in my shower right here, that, you know, there's a little bit of mildew in the corners and around the edges. Those you can typically wipe off.
Yeah, so what do they use to clean that off?
So that's
Be careful
the other
here
big,
because when you start mixing chemicals, I used to be a civil engineer.
Yeah,
You can
you
cause
definitely
more.
can cause problems.
So be careful. Don't be mixing.
yeah, don't make any mustard gas.
Yeah, you can potentially do that with bleach. What do you recommend to use to clean off?
So what you need is some kind of a disinfectant. Really, bleach has always been the known source or known solution to being able to clean up mold. And what bleach will do is actually it kills the surface. It'll clean it off of the surface. But if you wait 3 or 4 days, that same amount of time it takes mold to start growing, you're going to see it come back because the bleach doesn't actually go into the surface and kill whatever's there. So you need a disinfectant that's actually going to do it. Bleach is fine to wipe it off the first time, and then you can use a disinfectant to do it. But you've got some abrasion as well. It's not just a quick wipe and away it goes. You have to kind of either sand it, or we use wire brushes in a lot of what we do.
And I guess the next question is, when do people know they have a problem? And I think you alluded to it here.
Yep.
You start coughing or have allergy symptoms out of the blue.
If you start to have any kind of health issues that you're aware of, then that's a pretty good indicator that you've got something going on. You also, if it's visual or visible, you can go out, you see a black spot growing in a place that wasn't there before. That's a pretty good indicator that you've got something going on. You can also see it, floorboards or siding on the outside of your house or drywall on the inside. If it starts to get spongy and changes shape, generally there's something growing there and causing that problem.
Okay. So identify it. Of course, if you do have identification, you give him a call. We'll get his information down below. So, so they found mold in the home. What's the next step? I mean, they test how you test it, or is that something you do, or can they do it on their own? What's the next step once they identify it?
You've got a couple options, really. There's the one option that's, if you're really curious what it is and want to get a detailed report, there are consultants, indoor industrial hygienists.
Wow.
That
I
are
didn't even know.
exactly that are able to come in. They'll take a sample. They'll go to the lab. They'll really identify the family and tell you exactly what it is. Then you can make the determination. Like I said, mold's everywhere, so sometimes it's not dangerous and you don't really need to do anything about it. So there's consultants we work with.
Now, can you get that information? Sorry to get you off. From you?
Yeah, we can share that information. You can look them up online. Industrial hygienist, industrial air quality consultants.
And what does that cost approximately?
It varies depending on what exactly you're going to do. You're going to spend probably $500 to $1,000 in that ballpark to get that test.
But if it's
and
for
get
your
a
health.
report back. Exactly. What's
cheap.
the value of your health? Absolutely. So the other option is you can just call us in. If you just want to get it removed, we can just come in and remove it.
Okay.
It's not required. Mold is an interesting thing because it's not regulated. So you can just say, hey, I want this gone. We'll come in, we'll do it very safely. We'll put up containment. It's a process for sure, but we can get it and make it gone and get your living space back to health.
So you can call somebody or you can come in and just remove it. But so that leads me into the final question is, what are the steps in mold remediation? Can they live there? Do you box it off? Or what are the steps once they say, go come get it out?
Yeah. So it obviously depends on the extent of the mold. If it's an entire wall or an entire room, then we have a different situation. But I would say the vast majority of the projects we do are a corner or a small portion of a room. And so we'll build a poly containment. We just put plastic up around it and seal it off. We put negative air scrubbers in there so we can create negative air pressure and suck anything that might be potentially hazardous out of the air so it doesn't affect the rest of the living space. And then we'll go in. We actually physically remove the mold. So if it's on drywall or something porous, we'll actually get rid of it. If it's on the studs or anything like that, we'll sand it, we'll scrub it, and then we treat it with a biocide and then a disinfectant. So we kind of have a 3-step process there and get rid of it. And then depending on how the customer and the client wants to handle it, we can bring in that same consultant on the back end and do a clearance test so that we're sure that we got it all, it's all safe, you don't have to worry about it. Again, that's not a requirement. Not everybody does it, but a lot of customers do.
Yeah, you want to check to make sure that is all gone.
It's good for us too from a liability standpoint.
So finally, thanks for coming in. Appreciate all the information. Talk about your accreditations. You have some accreditations that make you stand out from your competition.
Absolutely.
And level of experience.
Yeah. So like I said when we started, I've got Sean is his name. He is a 30-year veteran of the industry. He has his mold credentials as well as asbestos credentials. So he's really truly certified at the top level to be able to do that. Myself and our technicians, there's the IICRC that does a mold course called the AMRT, and we've all got those accreditations. So we're certified to go all the way through that process and handle it correctly. The big concern with mold, because it's not regulated, is anybody could get in there, tear out the drywall and start doing it. We're licensed as contractors, we're insured, we're bonded, that whole thing, so that you're sure that it's done correctly and you don't have to worry about it after the fact.
Great. So why don't you give them, what's the best way to reach you? Number or email, website?
Yep, absolutely. So my name, Josh Nelson. Our office phone number here is 775-446-4646. Our email address, the general one to our whole company, is PCSR, which is PuroClean of South Reno, at PuroClean.com. That's P-U-R-O, clean.com. And our website is just PuroClean.com, very simple.
Yeah, because you can look them up. So so another great resource here. Give them a call, and you can always call us in the office if one of our clients or one of our subscribers out there or viewers needs help in this aspect. Again, we're trying to bring in great people to educate people. So Josh is another great example of a fresh face on our podcast. We'd love to have, if you're out there, you want to talk about your business and how it relates to real estate, love to have you in. Please subscribe to our videos. Please like them. And until next time, you guys have a great week. Stay